Welcome. It's Nicole again, and we are now going to spend some time walking through the Student Resource Library. Just to kind of recap what we've gone over so far, we have walked through an actual chapter and lesson. We spent some time walking through the narrative, spending some time in that lesson review, and then also talking about those activities and assessment. So what we're going to do now is we're going to spend a little time in the resource library. Now, we're back here on the home page. Down here at the bottom of the home page, students are able to get to their resource library. And this is actually the resource carousel. So students can actually click on different resources and pull those resources up. So for instance, they can get to their graphic novels, they can get to their geography skills, games, and so forth. In addition, students can also click here on resources. Both places are going to take them to the resource library. Here in the resource library, students are able to see all of the different resources that are available over here to the left. Notice they can get to all of their activities and worksheets, all of their arts, photos, and slideshows, their geography skills, graphic organizers, and so forth. And then up top here, they're able to get to other resources as well. They can get to their primary sources, their biographies, their 21st century skills, and their reading essentials. Let's spend a little time walking through each of these. So embedded in the network's resource library, students are able to get to all of those primary sources that are tied to the content that students are working through. Now, although students can get to these primary sources within the resource library, do know that all of these resources, whether it is the primary sources or the biographies and so forth, are at point of use throughout each of the lessons. So now clicking into biographies, notice students can actually get into all of the biographies within the program. They can open up those biographies, and then they can actually click into the resource, and then they would be able to read more information about that particular person of history. The next tab would be the 21st century skills. This is where students can work through their current events website, they can work through their college and career readiness skills, and then they can work through all of those different 21st century skills that they need to work on as they're working through the program. So they can work through their critical thinking skills, their economic skills, their map skills, research and writing skills, and so forth. If we click here into BTW, this is going to take us into our current events website. Now this website is updated every 2 weeks, and it's where students can actually get to current events and hot topics that are happening around the world. Students also have the opportunity to search for particular articles, or they can go into the archive section and they would then be able to find articles all the way dating back all the way to 2009. There is an additional teachers section here, and this would really help you when you're thinking about how you want to assign the current events website for your students. And just remember, you will always have Election Central, where students can really spend time reading about and working through content and things that are happening with the different elections that are going on across the country. Lastly, we're going to move into reading essentials. Your Reading Essentials and Study Guide is your differentiated content for your students. You will have a Reading Essentials available for every lesson in the program. So notice here, the topic is the First Americans, and this is Lesson 1, Migration to Americas. The purpose of the Reading Essentials is to really provide scaffolding for those students who have a little bit harder time working through the reading of the narrative. Students will work through that same essential question, they'll work through those same guided questions, they'll always have their vocabulary, but they'll have additional scaffolds embedded in the reading essentials. Here they can get to the map of that time period, and they'll always have some type of graphic organizer which really helps them to work through the reading of the narrative. Once they move into the narrative, you'll notice that the content here is presented in a much more manageable way for students. It's approximately 1 to 2 grade levels below, and again provides those graphic organizers for students to really be able to internalize the content. It's also based on the Cornell note-taking process, so students can actually take notes right here in the margin of their reading essentials. Because it does cover the same content in the actual print or online text, it's also a wonderful way for students to review any of those lessons that they've worked on to prepare for any assessment that you might be giving them. So let's, now that we had a chance to actually walk through all of those different resources, primary sources, biographies, 21st century skills, and those reading essentials, why don't you take a little time, log into the resource library, and maybe scroll through those primary sources, those biographies, and reading essentials.